All right, so you saw the Marvel news.
Yeah, I heard about this a while ago, actually, but only about two of them: Safe
Yeah.
Space and Snowflake.
Well, those are the only two that people are talking about. So here's the
Okay.
thing. It's not really about them. It's about the suspicious day upon which they announced this and what else is going on. So with this whole like pandemic and everyone's quarantined and everything's closed, um, comic book stores, they first of all, they tried to keep this as hush hush as possible because Diamond, which is like the prime distributor, like Marvel and DC do the publishing, Diamond is the distributor. They're the number one comic book distributor in the country, and they've stopped distributing books. So comic book stores, whether they're remaining open or not, even if they try to remain open, they're getting no new content because the distributor has decided like we're not going to do it until this pandemic thing's open. And here's the response from Marvel and DC: we don't care. Their response is we'll just publish them digitally. Uh,
Marvel's doing just fine without comic book sales too. They're
but
fine.
but the fact is like so comic book shop owners like whether or not people want to recognize it or admit it, like when you really want to talk about small business and mom and pop type shops, like comic book stores represent a pretty. There's no chain. Name a chain of comic book stores.
None. I don't
Yeah,
know any.
like I think if there is a chain, there's maybe like three in that chain, and that's max. Like there's
Yeah, I was
no.
gonna say like I was almost gonna say Twilight Comics, but I don't think they're a real chain. I think they're
No.
just like two locations,
Yeah.
like two or three. Like I don't think
Yeah.
it's a chain.
Like there's no McDonald's of comic book stores, so they
No.
are a pretty good representation of like a small business in the U.S. And
Yeah.
they're all pretty much privately owned and operated. So these people are fucking suffering because Diamond has been like, okay, we're not going to distribute any more comics till this pandemic's open, and they're like, well, fuck us, like no new comics to sell. We're already like our customers are a niche group already. Like if I'm one of the rare exceptions. Like I'll go in there just to buy like a random trade paperback off the shelf. Like if I'm like, man, you know what? I haven't read a Daredevil comic in a while. I'm gonna go find a new Daredevil book to read. But their main source of income are the people who are coming in every Wednesday to pick up their weekly
Right.
new books.
Potentially even their stack of comics that they get every week.
Yeah.
They might get like nine comics every single week,
Hmm.
and now they're not getting that. That store's not selling those nine, so they're
No.
stacking up. And
Nine
that,
to
that you're
however
right.
many
They're actually
people.
not getting anything.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. They tried talking to Marvel and DC about it. They tried talking to Diamond about it, and the shop owners. And these people basically were just like staying silent. And so finally, comic book store like these business owners they started to speak out, and like it was getting a bit of attention online. And then all of a sudden, this like one event, I think uh, there was this big thing where this one creator, I don't know if he's an artist or a writer, but he got in a fucking like insulting match with someone on Twitter with a bunch of comic book like fans, paying customers. He
Oh,
he told one this comic book writer or illustrator, I'm not sure which one he is. He on Twitter told a paying customer, a comic book fan, a paying comic book customer, to eat a pre-fucked bag of dicks. Like perfectly spelled out. There's no allusion to what he was meaning. Like he was very verbatim about that. He told a paying customer, a comic book aficionado, to eat a pre-fucked bag of dicks, and it's like, so now this issue's blowing up, right?
yeah, as it
People
should.
and Marvel and DC and Diamond are about to kind of look bad because it looks like they're about to look like, oh, we only care about our profits or our end. Fuck the small business owner, you know. So
But
what do they
sure.
so what do they do to distract the comic book like fan base? They release this fucking Snowflake and safe space shit, knowing that it will cause this massive discussion and no one will fucking think about this bigger issue about how mom and pop comic book stores are failing. And it's so far, it's kind of working so far, but it's a fucking travesty. And like the fact that they're trying to hide behind their like selfish greed by using like PC and inclusiveness is just like, I'm like, oh my god, this is the shadiest shit. And it's this is why I hate it. This is why I can't stand the PC shit because like it's so often just fake.
Well, I never understood why we went the route of accept everything instead of well, no, let me rephrase that. I like the accept everything kind of thing. That doesn't imply that everybody has to like it or everybody has to be a supporter, but the concept is you're not going to go and get in anybody's way for being that way, whoever they are. But the thing I'm not cool with is the fact that, like, we've created words that make sense, but only in this specific context, and ostracize a whole other group of people, dumb people, who don't want to learn the words, who don't want to use them. It's fine, but it creates these easy targets for basically the Republican war machine, which is to let's pick something easy, profits. Everything that Republicans do revolves around profits. And if they can get their profits to continue going and do shady things, they'll do that. And if they can cover up those shady things by using our own, I don't even really know what to say, by using our own version of society
Yeah, your own.
against us,
Yeah.
the accepting side, they're taking that and they're targeting the really loud vocal group of people who cannot stand that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It just like boils their blood, and using their loudness as a white noise machine to cover up their shady shit.
Well, so here's the thing. It's a two-pronged issue with me, because on the one hand, yes, like you have to see through the one of the two issues. One of the prongs is bigger than the other, and the bigger prong is the fact that it's being used to cover up like their blatant disregard for the failure of their like small comic book stores. They're like,
Yeah.
these small businesses can fail. We don't give a shit. Don't think about how we don't give a shit. Instead, think about these characters and what you think about them. And that's the bigger of the two prongs. But the other one of the two prongs is, I was watching like a video of like Chris D'Elia. You know who he is?
Yeah, I like
I was
Chris D'Elia.
when he found out about these two new characters, and I liked what he said about how he's like I love all entertainment, and he goes, whether no matter what kind of like movie, comic book, video game, whatever the fuck it is. But he says, he's like, as soon as I start to smell an agenda, I'm out. I'm out the door.
Same.
And that's how I am. And like, so I'm in the Navy, right? Like, and this is a manual labor type job, but you would be surprised about how many like LGBT type people are on my ship. Not necessarily a lot of trans, because it's still not like, you can't be openly trans, you'll get kicked out of the military, but I imagine there are some there and they're just not open about it.
I wonder if the military is aware that guns use fingers to pull triggers and not dicks and vaginas. Yeah. It's crazy how simple guns are. You can probably teach a dog to shoot a gun if you really tried.
They almost did it. So when I was in boot camp, they had to sit us down in a classroom and give us a brief about how, like, starting next month, when like we would have been halfway through our training at that point, they're like, starting next month, we're gonna start letting trans people in here. And so they gave us this whole brief, and we were all like, so wait a minute, like, how is this gonna work? Like, and we were all just kind of like, okay, so like it's gonna happen, and we're just gonna make our peace with it and whatever. And then at the last minute, they decided not to do it, not to let them in. Yeah, and like when we started thinking about why, all of a sudden it was kind of like, okay, so, because the military, from what I understand, if I'm not wrong, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is correct, they will pay for one cosmetic surgery of your choice. If you want braces, if you want LASIK, LASIK might not be considered cosmetic, but like braces, or if you want liposuction, I don't know, they'll pay for one cosmetic surgery.
I've seen a lot of fat Marines, so they could probably use liposuction. Yeah. I'm shocked when it's a Marine, by the way, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. So the biggest concern was trans people who want the operation, but they can't afford it. So they're going to join the military, get the operation, and then they're going to be out of commission, unable to do their job while they like, because it was going to be an extensive amount of like recovery and like physical therapy and like recuperation after. And yeah, basically it was going to be like, we would have to sign these people for like longer contracts than normal, because
I mean, or they could just limit the cosmetic surgery until the end of your 4 years in the military. That would have been an easier solution. Hey, you can still do this, but because it's a job and because you have things you got to do and we don't want you out of commission, you got to do the 4 years first. It's still paid for, but you got to do the 4 years. I
Yeah,
guarantee no one would complain. They'd be
that
like,
would.
okay.
I mean, that is a good solution. The only thing with that is then it's like, okay, if they have to wait the 4 years, are a lot of them really going to still join the military? Because they're like, and I think
Well,
it's
then
a,
that's their choice. But
it
we
is.
pay, me and you and your mom and dad and my mom and dad and my sisters, we pay for the military. We pay for it. I pay for it.
Yeah,
I
that's
pay for
true.
all that shit. And so if I say, just me, I mean, really, if just me, if I say that that makes sense, it's my fucking money. Of course it makes sense.
Yeah,
It should work. If
it,
the government thinks they can tell me what I can do with my money, they got a whole other thing coming.
that's
And
true.
the thing is, it's like saying someone who's deaf, you can be deaf and work in the military. It's just you can't do certain things. Actually, can you be? You could be in World War II. I
I
don't know if they
don't
changed
think
it.
you can. Like they like a
Okay,
sound.
maybe
What is
desperation calls for.
audiogram test? Like we have to do that a couple
Hmm.
times a year, and like yeah. But
Okay.
no. So like I think it was just going to be a logistical nightmare because they were going to have to create a lot of changes to the military and the structure of it and like barracks, living quarters, bathrooms, all this kind of shit was going to have to go into it. But then they thought like, okay, like even if we take your idea, like, okay, so you can have the cosmetic surgery at the end. Well, then they're thinking, okay, but that's not going to stop us from having to make all these logistical changes now. They're going to cost us a ton of money. But then if we put the cosmetic surgery only at the end, like a significantly less amount of them are going to join to begin with. So then we're making all these expensive logistical changes for to gain a small addition of people to our military. I think they just like I don't know, but it's beside the point. The point that I was trying to get to was um, so out of all like the LGBT type people that I've met in the Navy, they also like these manual labor type job people, even though they're LGBT, they hate this kind of shit. When they see this like just shoved down people's throats in like Marvel comics and shit, they also hate it. Cause and this the one of them described it to me like this. He's like, everyone is annoyed by Jehovah's Witnesses. Like you'll be in your house like making food or something, and all of a sudden it's like, hi, do you have a moment to talk about Jesus Christ? And it's like, actually, I was in the middle of making a pizza, and if I wanted to know about Jesus Christ, I'd be on my computer looking that up, but I wasn't. I was making a pizza, so shut the door.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And he goes, it's like that for us. He's like, it's like that, the way they look at it. He said, it's like if we sit down to watch like a Spider-Man movie or read a fucking Batman comic, and then we're just laying there, and the comic's getting good, and all of a sudden it's like, someone shows up at their door to be like, hi, do you have a moment to talk about LGBT rights and issues? And they're like, no, listen, one, I am that, so I already know all the
Yeah.
issues. I don't need to hear
Yeah.
about them. And two, once again, like the same thing with the Jehovah's Witness thing, if I wanted to know about these issues, I'd be on my computer looking them up. I wouldn't be reading a Batman comic. I chose to read a Batman
Yeah.
comic because that's what I wanted to do right now is read a Batman comic, not learn
Everything
about
is
these issues.
bleeding together in
Yeah,
this. You know what I really liked about Star Wars is that the plight of the Ewoks is not a real thing, and that Chewbacca's people were never actually enslaved, and therefore is not an issue I have to actually expend energy worrying about.
yeah,
These are things that I had decided to devote energy to while I was enjoying that thing. If in the middle of Star Wars,
right.
and I'm bisexual, so this is how I feel. If they had built up this whole thing where Luke, he kisses Leia and all that stuff, but then Episode 3 or 6 comes out, and Luke comes out as gay, it wouldn't have been that bothered me. It would have been the choice to turn this into something that it wasn't even in the original movies. Like relationships and gender and sexuality were not even things in Star Wars. They were just they were little tidbits of ideas that were meant to carry on two characters
Yeah,
because they didn't really know what to do with the character yet. So they were just sort of figuring like Han and Leia. Han and Leia weren't initially supposed to end up together.
right.
Spoiler alert to
But it was
anybody.
like, what else
But
did
they
they have
did.
going for them? Like,
Exactly. It was
yeah.
exactly that. They didn't really know
Other than the fact they
like there
shoot some
had to be a
stormtroopers
denouement.
sometimes, like what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like
They had to have some kind of story arc conclusion that was
give
worthy of the
people
two
more of a
characters.
reason. Like why give people more of a reason to want to see them on the screen? Because it's like
Yeah.
Because it's like otherwise people would just be sitting in the movie theater at home just being like, all right, so why are we cutting to these people? Like, why are we not watching Luke do badass Jedi training right now? Because that's way more
Yeah, like
interesting.
exactly. And
And
you know what? If
honestly,
they
it
had started from the
is.
beginning and like Han is a gay space pirate, if he was still Han Solo as we know him, nobody's complaining. He's
Yeah.
awesome. People like Han. They liked Han for Han. They didn't like Han because he liked Leia. They
Yeah.
liked Han because he was a badass who shot Greedo real quick. You know, like he's cool.
Now that you mention it, I kind of think about it. Like, Empire Strikes Back, Han and Leia's parts in that are relatively boring up until the relationship type stuff starts to happen. Then you're kind of like, okay,
Yeah,
now I want to see this. Because think about it, like, what's the first couple of things? They're trying to run away from some TIE fighters, and you're like, all
yeah,
right, let's speed this shit up. I want to see Luke do Jedi training. And
yeah,
then they're trapped
exactly.
in that cave, and they realize it's not a cave, it's a giant worm. You're like, yeah, that sucks, but come on, I want to see badass Jedi
Let's
training.
get on with
And then
let's
all of
get
a
on
sudden
with
they
it.
start to tease like a love interest, and then you're like, oh, I want to see how this plays out. Like,
Yeah, it's an interesting because everything else they were doing when you break it down like you just did wasn't really that interesting. Like you knew that the ship that had one, two, three, four, so 4 or 5 of the main characters from the first movie
C-3PO,
on it.
Chewbacca, Han Solo, and
Yeah,
Leia. Yeah,
yeah.
four
So
of them.
4. Yeah, so they're not gonna die. They're not gonna destroy the ship with 4 of the main characters on it. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So you're just
And
sort
there's
of there.
way other more interesting shit going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So I see it like that. And also I think it served like love interests in especially in like big franchises. I think they served a purpose of like if we want this shit to go on, eventually we're gonna have to introduce like a legacy idea. Like the main
yeah.
characters are gonna have to have children. So
How do
that
we
way
make
we can
kids for
turn
the next ones?
yeah, you know, so
Yeah.
that's another reason why love interests are brought into it. Because like Luke as a Jedi never needed a love interest, but in the
No.
expanded universe he marries Mara Jade and they have kids, and
Yeah.
it's like that's why they did it. It's so we could write
Yeah.
badass stories about Luke's kids. Like
That's why they made Leia a Jedi, but never made her use the Force really. Like the Mary Poppins thing, whatever.
yeah,
She didn't really use the Force that often in the books. She was taught a lot more than she was in the movies how to use it, and she had a purple lightsaber, which I don't understand why she didn't still have a purple lightsaber. That was badass.
because
It
we
made
have to
total
be
sense for her.
different, Zach. If Disney just copies the expanded universe, it's not art. Okay, copying other
And
people is not art.
you know what? Speaking of that, you know what good art is? Good art is recognizing a moment where you should do something and doing it. And you know what a moment was? Rey carries a bow staff for the entire first movie, insinuating that she would be pretty good at using staff-like weapons. And then she builds her own lightsaber, and she builds a one-sided yellow lightsaber, and I was like, you fucking retards. Where is her double-bladed yellow lightsaber? That would
Yeah.
make way more sense right now.
Even her dark
Whatever.
side visage had a double-sided red.
Had a double-sided one. It was
Yeah.
double-sided.
Yeah.
Darth Vader didn't become Darth Vader and start using a double-sided lightsaber. He used a one-sided blade. He became Darth Vader, kept the one-sided blade because he was good at that.
Yeah.
Rey never had any fucking training with a sword. She had
Yeah.
way more training with her staff. She used it all the time. Why wouldn't she go to the thing she's anyway? We're not talking about this.
Yeah.
So Princess Leia. They made Princess Leia a Jedi for the exact and express purpose of creating Force-sensitive children.
Yeah.
That was it. Like they introduced that concept at the very end of 6.
Because yeah, it's
And
slowly
they only
they slowly
insinuated
added
it.
shit to the two. Like, well, Han, all he got added was the fact that he was in love with Leia. That's it.
Yeah,
But Leia
and they
slowly
actually
got added
softened
more.
Han a lot if you think about it.
Movie number 1, Leia's just this princess. Movie number
Yeah.
2, now she's the love interest of this other main character. Movie number 3, now she's also like a potential Jedi.
Yep,
Like slowly they were like, okay, we got to do some
advancing,
shit. Yeah.
making these, and then Luke's interesting the whole time because Luke is a Jedi and he's
Yeah.
never not a Jedi,
Yeah.
except for in the new movies where for some reason he's not a fucking Jedi anymore. Okay, anyway,
Those don't matter.
no, they're not real. They didn't happen.
But yeah, dude. So I think my main focus, because like the reason I wanted to do this quick video and talk about it is anybody out there, like even if you are a regular, like what's the word I'm looking for? Even if you like are a customer at comic book stores, like a regular one, don't just. First of all, if they're closed, they're closed. There's nothing you can do about that. But if they are open and they're trying to sell some shit, go buy some statues. Go buy a trade paperback. Like go help them out. Like I know you're not getting your weekly set of comics because you know the distributors are being cunts, but like sorry, but that's just the truth. But like I know
They are.
I understand they're just trying to save money also because they're like it's a quarantine. Like who's really coming in to get their comics, you know? And I'm like,
They're
trust me, we're coming in to get our comics.
they're not even really trying to save their money. They're probably just like so many other companies where they're so wildly mismanaged, but they were so reliant on the heavy income from the American economy, which is a lot. They can make a lot of money and still be pretty much making no money at the end of the day as long as they've got an income stream. Well, suddenly their income stream stops and they're like, if we keep doing business, we are going to go out of business because we mismanage the hell out of our company and is not going to make it if we keep doing business the right way. We are going to have to start doing shady things to keep afloat, which is exactly what a lot of companies have been doing. Like, I'm just, you can look this up, just type in shady things occurring during the coronavirus, and you'll find out businesses that are firing, 1,800 employees because if they don't, they're going to go out of business.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
But
like,
I
so
thought
think
you were
about it.
supposed to save money and make sure that you could keep your business afloat. That's what they tell us.
Well, think
Fucking
about it.
idiots.
Think about a company like Diamond. Like, I understand this is not like it's when people think of like big popular companies, Diamond is not like the comic book
Mm-mm.
distributor is not a big popular. But if you think about it, the higher up people at Diamond, like the people who sit on the board meetings and shit, it's if it's the number one comic book, if it's the number one like distributor of like comic books and like collectibles and shit to all the comic book stores in America, those people sitting in that boardroom, they probably have a good chunk of wealth. I mean,
Yeah,
definitely enough to call it quits and retire on at this point. And I
sure.
think that's the way they're looking at it is they're like, okay, so we could either start just bleeding money, because one, no, the quarantine has comic books being closed, and comic book stores are closed, and our truck drivers don't want to go driving around exposing themselves to all this shit. Or so it's like we could either keep just bleeding money by distributing comics that no one's gonna buy, or we could just kind of pause it. And if it causes, and that's what they're doing. I think they're like, if we pause it and the business just kind of ends here, so be it. We all have enough money to fucking call it quits. Our
I
employees,
just
our truck drivers, and they probably don't have enough money to call it quits, but we do, and we get to call the shots. So,
they should do something like, hey, we're releasing a lot of our comics online, not all of them, and we're going to be selling codes to your local comic book stores. For $20, you can get like 20 comics, dollar a comic, and we'll
yeah,
give you a code, and it gives you 20 comics on the site. You can buy 20 more. You can pick 20. Even
yeah.
that's even better. You can just pick 20. You just go on there and pick out 20. When you're done, enter the
So
little
here's
code
the thing:
in.
when it
You
comes to
paid.
digital publishing, Diamond has nothing to do with that, because like
Oh, okay.
Marvel and DC can publish their shit digitally directly. They don't need a third-party distributor. Like Diamond's just the people who is getting the comics from Marvel and DC to the store. Like they're just distributing. That's
Oh, so they're
all.
they're literally like Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. They don't even make the paper. They just sell the paper.
Yeah, like when it comes because Marvel and DC already have their own uh, apps and shit for like if you want digital comics. And then I think the most popular one right now is Comixology, which has just like all of the like every comic, like Marvel,
Ever made.
DC, Image, at least
What's that
everything
place
that's
called?
Comixology.
Comixology. I've been kind of wanting to
It's a
read.
subscription app, but I
Oh,
mean,
that's fine. I've been wanting to read three really specific Batman graphic novels, and if I could find those.
I personally just something about having the book. I'm the same way with novels. Like not just I'm still the same way with novels. I still like to go to Barnes and Noble and buy the book. I don't know why. I just do.
Oh, dude, I do too. You know what? I do know why. It's because when we were kids, that was a super awesome part of getting to go to like Barnes and Noble or Borders, was
Yeah.
going to the comic section, looking through, seeing how great those fucking covers looked,
Yeah.
opening it up and like reading 2 pages and being like, I could read this all right now. Like
Yeah.
that's a rare experience
Growing
in the
up,
human
like
life.
as I got older, like my parents started like buying me less and less shit, and it was more
Yeah.
like, do your chores, cut people's lawns, make your own money, and buy your own shit. But the one thing my entire life that if I ever asked my mom to like when I was younger, if I ever asked her to take me and go get for me, if I a book ever, she
Yeah,
was always
same.
like she all she would do is she'd check her email and be like, let's see if I have a Borders or Barnes and Noble coupon, and as long as
Yep.
she had a coupon. She was like, yeah. She never turned me down for a book because she always was like, it's reading. Like, I'm glad he reads. So,
Yeah, my mom was the same way. She's just like, you want to read? Let's go get a book.
yeah. So, That was always good. So yeah, I grew up liking Barnes and Noble and Borders, and yeah, it's
God,
just
I
like,
miss Borders, man.
dude, it was
I don't know
just,
why.
bro, it's like this temple of knowledge. Like,
Yeah,
I go in there and I see books that I'm just like, I just want, like, there's books laid out in the front, some of those like coffee table books about like
yeah,
random shit, and I'm like, I want to read that. Like,
yeah.
if I feel like if I owned a Borders or a Barnes and Noble, I'm just like, I'm the lore master, you know? Like,
It's
I
pretty
should be
cool.
working there in a robe with like a fucking scepter, just like
I think
I'm
you
the
just
lore master.
created a new type of bookstore that could be Barnes and Noble. You walk in and it's like a wizard tower, and as
Dude,
you
yeah.
ascend in levels,
What do we call this thing? The fucking, I don't know.
the wizard's tower.
Yeah, the Tower of Fate. I don't know.
Oh, the
It's like
Tower of Fate. That's pretty cool. Oh,
Tower
the
of
Tower of
Destiny.
Knowledge.
Yeah, Tower of Knowledge. Yeah, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
there you
know.
go. And then they come in and they have they're given either a robe to wear around or they can wear their normal clothes.
Wait, are they taking this robe with them, or are they giving it back when they're done? Because like
They give it.
I'm
Actually, you
not
know
handing
what?
out free
Coronavirus has
robes.
taught me a lot of things. We're not giving them shit. They come
That
in and get books, and
yeah, like I think we're
there's
about
going to
to.
be a hand sanitizer station.
I'm like, we're giving people too much shit here. It's like, what are they like? What kind of store do you go to where it's like, I understand you came to buy some shit from us, but here's a free gift bag to take home.
Here's a
Like,
$35 robe you can just take home.
yeah, like,
Hopefully, you spend more than that. Oh, you only spent $10? Great, we lost money on you. Get out.
yeah, backfired. Yeah, but all right, we're at about like 26 minutes. That's good enough just for this issue. I just wanted to kind of like, I don't think a lot of people watch our shit, but for those who do and they see this, I just wanted to stress the issue. Go to find a comic book store that's open, a small comic book store. Go in there, buy something, whether it's a trade paperback, a statue, some kind of collectible. Go buy something, give them some business. They're struggling right now, and the comic book industry as a whole is being giant dicks to them. So please
Go get
go
a
support.
Thanos statue.
Yes,
Everyone likes
go buy the
Thanos.
Infinity Gauntlet. Like, I don't
Do
care.
it. Go buy
Yeah.
all the gems too.
Yeah, like give them some business because they are awesome and they are struggling right now. All right, dude. I'm about to hop off here. You want to play some WoW?
Yeah,
It
I
should
just
be up
logged
and
on.
running by now. All right.
Yeah, it just started
All
working.
right.
So
All right. I'll see you in a sec.
okay.
Later.
Hey, hop on disc.
Yeah. All right. Later.